Hello, this is Lauren Sanfilippo from the Office of Clinical Trials Administration, also known as OCTA or OCTA. In this video, I'm going to just show you very briefly an overview of how to submit a new contract proposal to OCTA. Before we jump into Kuali, I want to show you our OCTA Kuali proposal guide for Department Research Administrators. On this first page, we have some introductory tips, and I just want to highlight a few. The first one is that before you submit to OCTA, it's really important to ensure that the contract that you have fits within our scope. And so in order for a new contract proposal to be approved for negotiation by OCTA, it must meet these three criteria. The first being that the entity or entities, if there's more than one, who authored the protocol for the study must be a for-profit company. There can be no UCPI involvement in the design or authorship of the protocol. Also, if you have a protocol where an investigator from another university or another medical center authored the protocol, those would be cases where it's an investigator-initiated protocol, and those would be negotiated through OCGA. The second criteria is you want to make sure that the study is 100% funded by a for-profit entity. The study cannot be supported in whole or in part with non-industry funds, meaning government or nonprofit funds. And then the last criteria is you want to make sure that your proposed study activity is research involving human subjects. And we encourage you, if you're unsure or have questions, to please contact us at octa@health.ucsc.edu, and we're happy to help you triage and make sure that you are submitting your proposal to the correct office. The next thing you want to make sure is that you have the required documentation that you need, which we cover in this section 3 in the tips section. You'll want to make sure for an industry clinical trial that you have a copy of the sponsor's protocol. OCTA also asks for a copy of the draft informed consent form. That can be from the sponsor or UCSD's version. Either one will work. And then typically in an industry clinical trial, the sponsor wants UCSD to negotiate from its contract template. So you'll need to make sure that you have a copy of the sponsor's contract template. If there is a separate budget grid, which there typically is, you'll want to attach that as well. If the budget or payment schedule is already contained in the draft contract, then all you need to do is upload the draft contract. But if it's not in there, you need to ask for it from the sponsor and upload that draft budget or payment schedule separately. And then depending on the PI, you might also be asked to upload a document confirming your PI's eligibility or a completed PI exception request form. And the last thing I wanted to mention before we jump into Kuali is about budget services. It's assumed that if a PI is submitting a proposal, that the PI or the department is negotiating the budget. If you would like to request the Office of Coverage Analysis Administration to negotiate your budget, they do offer budget development and negotiation services. Please make sure once you're in the research questionnaire answering questions, there's a specific question about OCA budget services, and you want to make sure that you elect the I request OCA budget services options, and I can show you that once we jump into Kuali. So please make sure you have a copy of our OCTA Kuali proposal guide for Department Research Administrators. It's on our website. It's important and helpful to follow the guide step by step as you're doing your proposal. So I'm going to close out the guide and we're going to jump into Kuali. So if you signed in, you might see some tiles that say research home, conflict of interest. I've already been logged in for a while, so you don't see that here, but you're going to want to click the research home tile when you see that. It will bring you to this dashboard. Yours might look different than mine, and that's fine. What you're going to want to do to create your proposal is navigate to this common task panel on the left. Go down here to the proposal development section and click create proposal. In order to create and save a proposal, you're going to need to complete all the fields on this page. So we're going to go through and do that quickly. So the proposal type for a new contract will always be new. Here you're going to select the lead unit for the study, which I'll use medicine for this demo. For an industry clinical trial, the activity type is always going to be clinical research. Project dates is a field that does not really pertain to industry clinical trials, but is a required field for Kuali. So we ask you in the guide to please just enter today's date And then for the end date, select a date that is exactly 1 year and 1 day earlier from today's date. So today's date is May 4th, 2020. 1 day, 1 year and 1 day earlier is May 3rd, 2021. Here you're going to want to copy and paste the protocol title directly from the sponsor's protocol. So you would put that here. Here you would put the sponsor's name, and if there's a CRO that you're contracting with, I'll show you on the next screen where you enter that information. Sponsor deadline is another field that doesn't really apply, but we have to put it in here because it's a Kuali system requirement. And so we're going to select a date that is 3 months from today's date just to get through. So we're going to say August, we'll say August 3rd, 2020. Again, doesn't really matter what you put here. And then there are no hard deadlines in industry clinical trials, so you'll select internal. The anticipated agreement type should be contract, and we're going to click save and continue. Once you click save and continue, you'll notice that it says document was successfully saved, and you'll see that you now have a proposal number. So if you were to close out of this proposal now, you could go back to Common Tasks and search for this proposal number and pick up where you left off. I want to point out that if this is a new clinical trial for COVID-19 or in response to COVID-19, we ask that you tag that here in the keywords section. If not, you'll want to just keep completing things here on this screen. Really, aside from the keywords, the only other thing you're updating on this proposal details screen is if there was a CRO involved. And I don't just mean if a CRO is maybe helping the sponsor with the conduct of the study, but we're really concerned with if the contract is with a CRO, you're going to put the CRO's name here. So we'll pretend that PPD is actually the contracting party here, but the protocol is authored and funded by Pfizer. So you would just move Pfizer down here to the prime sponsor code field. The CRO would be here. Again, if we were not contracting with the CRO, we were contracting directly with Pfizer, you would keep Pfizer in that sponsor line. We're going to go ahead and click save. And you will use the OCTA proposal guide and continue to click through all of these tabs, fill in the required fields. The only other place I want to highlight for you is once you add your investigator, we're going to go ahead and add in, we'll do Dr. Sanborn as an example. So we're going to pull in, there's Dr. William Sanborn. He's our PI. We're going to click add person. And it's loading. Once you've added the PI, if you click this little triangle next to the PI's name, these tabs pop up. And this is where the research questions are. It's recommended that the PI comes in here and completes these research questions. If your PI has delegated this responsibility to you, this is where you would go to complete the questions, and it's going to show up here when you're done who completed the certification. These human subject research questions are really important. It's important that you answer them correctly if you want to ensure that your proposal gets routed to OCTA. So the first question is asking if any of the activities proposed involve specimens or data. They're trying to determine if it's human subjects research. Is this research covered by regulations for human subjects protection? We're going to say yes. Is it covered by regulations for stem cell? We're going to say no. Is it covered by NIH genomic data sharing policy? We're going to say no. And this is a really important routing question here. Does this project include a clinical trial? If this is a project for OCTA, the answer should be yes. This is a clinical trial. Has the external industry sponsor provided a study protocol for this project? If you're answering yes, it's going to send this proposal to OCTA. And you should be answering yes to this question if you have a study with an industry sponsor authored protocol. And then this is that OCA budget service question I mentioned earlier. It's asking if this research project is industry initiated and funded, you may request budget development and negotiation services from the Office of Coverage Analysis Administration. And you're going to want to select I request OCA budget services. You're going to scroll down, you're going to keep completing all of the answers, or your PI would. The PI or you will certify, click save. Once you've completed all the information in all of these panels, You're going to come to the summary and submit section. And you're going to click submit for review. If there are any errors or missing information, you'll be prompted to make those corrections. Otherwise, if you go to view route log, you should see in the actions taken. If you scroll down here to further action requests, you should see OCTA SPO approval stop as the next stop for approval. And if you have any questions about the status of your proposal after you've submitted it, or if you're not sure that it's been routed correctly to our office, please, like I said before, don't hesitate to get in touch with us. That is going to conclude this brief overview. Thank you.